Alright, so last time on Gran Turismo 4 we did the Daihatsu events, and the second one of those we did was the Midget 2 race. And now we are going to move on to our next manufacturer in line, which I am pretty sure is Honda, because I am pretty sure Dodge doesn't have any one makes, and neither does Ford, so that pretty much leaves Honda. And that's what we're going to do next, because, well, I am convinced in saying for our next series, we do not need to spend any money. Or at least, I hope we don't have to spend any money. If you may remember, I have already driven this car once because I drove it in the Japan Championship. And well, I figured because the Honda Type R models probably are going to be somewhat expensive, that's why I chose... yeah, here it is. As you can see, the NSXs in particular are pretty pricey, which is why I switched back to this. And I think for the Type R meeting, the NSX is probably going to be our main competition, as that's what we're doing now. So, pretty much everyone you'd expect in the Type R family, especially the NSX. And because, well, this basically is a Honda NSX Type R, I figured I might as well use it. So the tracks we're heading to are Twin Ring Motegi, Autumn Ring, Suzuka, then Motorland, and then we finish off at Tsukuba, a gathering of the red R emblems that symbolise the spirit of Honda. And as you can see, we've got two NSXs in the event thumbnail, which I think is pretty cool. And as I would have expected, we do have an NSX up front, but what we also have are two Integras, one Accord, and one Civic. And just going to check to make sure that my assists are off. I'm pretty sure... yeah, we can go back to the mediums. We probably will need to use the Sport Hard tyres at some point. Yeah, you know what? I'm not really bothered about traction control, to be honest. Sure, I did leave it on before, but I don't think I'm really going to need it now, because, well, most of these races are pretty short, so we just do what we gotta do. And hope we can catch the leading NSX Type R. And 68 points if we win this race, so let's see how we do. As I also have a cup of juice. So starting off the Type R meeting, in the sort of style I would have expected, as I already give a bump to the Integra, with whom I am trying to pass. Oh, and there's contact between the other Integra and the Accord. And for some reason I was running wide there. Anyway. Double pass through that corner. And now all that's left between me and the other NSX is the Civic. I think you probably know how easy of a pass this is going to be, because of the power deficit between the two. Now we will chase after the NSX like a wildcat. Oh shit, yep, okay. Okay, not having traction control is not helping me at the moment. I think it's actually doing quite the opposite, to be honest. At this moment in time. Because I'm not really helping myself. Yeah, 6 seconds. I really need to make sure I am gaining back that time. Hopefully, I will not make any more mistakes as the oversteer kicks in through the left-right flick, and I'm already gaining a second. So I think that tells me I'm closer to the NSX than I think I am. But the real question is, can I catch him in time? I think I can. But I do need to make sure that I stay on track if I am going to do it. Because some of these corners do require heavier braking than others. I think this is probably going to be somewhat similar to that battle I had with the Nismo Fair Lady in the Polyphony Digital Cup when I was driving my Volvo. I was honestly doing something that I am pretty sure no one had ever done before. But yet, I wound up proving it was possible. It wasn't quite the clean sweep, but I did at least prove it was possible. With the right tuning, to win the Polyphony Digital Cup using a Volvo. Which is pretty much every bit as to what it sounds like. Except for saying it was not with a 240 GLT estate. And I am a bit closer now to the NSX. It's now just 1.5 seconds, so I'm definitely gaining a few seconds per lap. And I almost outbrake myself, but looks as though these races might turn out to be easy. Especially because I am already right on the bumper of the other NSX. I could probably end up getting past him before the end of this lap, the way I see it. I was thinking about the dive, but I wasn't close enough to try the dive. So I'll just leave him to do whatever. I want to at least try and make sure that I get a clean pass out of this. I did try looking for a move up the inside, but I couldn't quite get it. I am actually trying with pretty much every inch to look for a pass here. And at the moment I'm not able to find it. Can I pass him around the outside? Yes, I can. I sell him the dummy. I sold him the dummy, and I was able to pass him from the outside, where there was clearer air. And in spite of me having a shaky start, I think the finish is going to be pretty well deserved from what I can see. At least in terms of me winning, considering I'm now already 1.4 seconds up. But I still have to make sure I'm at least in control of my car. Because this is pretty much how I do it. And I am pretty much now up into the lead as we now start the final lap here at Twin Ring Motegi, and it doesn't look like I am going to lose this. Even though the super speedway, unfortunately, is not really in public use anymore. Because of how it fell into disrepair following the earthquake and tsunami that devastated Japan in 2011 and basically killed the Motegi Oval. I think it's still there for display, but I think at this point they're probably not going to repair the oval, because I would think the oval by this point has probably fallen into disrepair in terms of it being fixable. And if you like what I do around here, and I know this is probably a bit late for me to say this, then make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe if you want to see more from me and from the things I do in this game, or choose to do. And if possible, I might even be able to show you one or two things that go on behind the scenes. Who knows? But anyway, after less than 9 minutes of driving, I am going to score race 1 of the Type R meeting pretty convincingly over the NSX. By under 5 seconds once I took the lead. Had a shaky start, but the finish was undoubtedly much better than I thought it was going to be. So, the NSX-R concept reigns supreme in race 1. And I did not have to spend a dime, which makes it even better. I'm also pretty sure I don't have a replay saved at Motegi yet. Well, except for that other one. I mean in terms of the one makes. I can probably do that now, to be fair. Because I want to. I'm also feeling a little soreness in my back, which is why I moved my chair forwards. Okay, 1 race down, 4 to go. Just having a drink from my cup, and now we head to Autumn Ring. My chair creaks a lot. And this is going to be piss easy because we've only got Integras and a Civic. Prepare for what should be undeniable domination, even though I still score 74 points. And already I am past the Civic immediately. Not sure how though. I guess it must have been because there are more Integras in the field now. Although I'm pretty sure because the NSX isn't here alongside me to give me a run for my money, this I would imagine should be pretty easy for me to pull off, because I've only got Integras to deal with for quite literally the most part. I've got 3 DC2 Integras and 1 DC5 Integra. Which means these 74 points ain't worth shit. Because we're only halfway through the lap and already I am up to first. So if you were expecting this race to be very easy, well, you guessed right. I would say this race is probably worth more like 24 points rather than 74. But whatever, still technically a race. Even then, if at this point there really is no competition to stop me, realistically. I don't think Autumn Ring is too hard on tyres, so I think I should be okay in that department. We're not at Tsukuba yet, which will be 10 laps, and I will have to switch over to the hard sport tyres by that point. I did of course buy those in case if, tyre degradation was going to be a factor. But from what I can see so far, it's not really proven to be a factor in any way whatsoever. It's just proving to me what happens when you enter a race that does not have a second Honda NSX. Although there was actually one time where I did do a Type R meeting, and I actually won that using a Civic. Yes, not something you would have expected to hear me say, but it was actually something I did do in my GT3 playthrough, where I I think it was the amateur Type R meeting, if I remember. Anyway, it was definitely the Type R meeting, because I was using a Civic at the time. I did have to get some tuning on, but eventually I did manage to make my car competitive enough to actually win it, before the Hondas inevitably, caught up to me. Anyway, the concept Honda NSX Type R is out front and dominating as it rightfully should be, because it's the most powerful car of the bunch. And me running wide in that corner, that was entirely my mistake. But because I am pretty much just laid back at this point, I'm pretty convinced in saying no one is going to make it to the line before the fade. And somehow, in spite of that error I made, I still managed to somehow set a new best lap time by 7/10, which surprises me. But anyway, 14-second advantage up front. Pretty sure those 74 points were just a little bit bloated, by comparison. Although I'm going to assume the only reason for the points increase is because, well, we have more Integras in the field this time. 4 of them to be precise. And of course, as you may have guessed, the lone Civic at the back of the field. Suffice to say, there is definitely a sense of separation between the power outputs of what cars are fast and which cars are not so fast. And I improve on my best lap time now by nearly 2.5 seconds. Well, 2.4 seconds to be precise. I'm pretty sure. Okay. So it looks like 22 seconds is pretty much going to be what the gap is and counting. Oh shit. Yep, I knew I was going to run wide there. I was honestly waiting for it. And tyre wear does not seem to be an issue at all. As I have pretty much dominated this farcical race from start to finish. And really left no space for the rest of the competition to catch up to me. That's just how dominant I've been. Somehow, in spite of me going off track, I still managed to only be half a tenth off of my best overall lap. That does actually surprise me. Yeah, no one else was really going to finish that one because they were just so far behind me. I'm going to guess the margin of victory would have been less than 30 seconds had they finished. Anyway, let's head on to race 3. Now we head to Suzuka. And we do have another NSX in the field. And aside from that, we've got, this time, the EP Civic, and we've also got 2 Integra Type R DC2s and 1 Integra Type R DC5. We know what we have to do. Pretty sure there are no questions in saying how much I am probably going to dominate this race because of how I have already worked my way to the front. Now we just have to wait and see how we go from here. And already I am steadily pulling a gap. As long as I am able to stay on track, I should be fine. Even though my car is running a bit sloppy right now and sliding in a few places. Have no idea how I saved it, but I somehow did save it. And I sideswiped the Integra by mistake. I nearly T-boned him. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to work my way back up the field now. Still, I was surprised to say that I actually performed yet another save. In terms of the cars I use for these one-make events. Yeah, there was really no room for me to run except for the outside of the hairpin. Anyway, I should be able to at least resume battle with the NSX. As long as I can keep my car straight and also keep my nose clean. Which is always important when it comes to getting the aerodynamic advantage. And once again I hit the Integra. And he's trying to force me wide. I do manage to get it back under control regardless. And after a very scrappy first lap, it has now once again become a two-horse race between me and the NSX Type R. Although I wouldn't think that would be the case for too long, because, well, I pretty much outpaced the NSX quite handily the last time I got past him. I think once I do manage to find the opening, I should be able to get past him with relative ease. Much like I did before. As we're heading through Dunlop. And now through the two Dagnas. Couldn't quite get the opening on the inside. It was worth a go, as we're now heading off Dagna 2. I've got the exit speed I need. However, I'm not going to risk it because the exit line is too tight, and there's no way for me to get through there at the hairpin, and through 200R we go. And you can definitely see the pace difference between the NSXs and just about everyone else. Got some close battles right now, but I wouldn't think they're going to last very long from what I can see. I have established the AI do know how to battle here at Suzuka in this game. I have also had a few battles in the past that have one way or another been nail-biters, as I push him slightly, and I run wide at the chicane, and I get pushed from behind. Not quite how I wanted to pass him there, but I did manage to hand the position back after I cheated a little. Haven't quite got the best exit speed, but I know it is possible for me to get to the front. And at the very least, you know, from an entertainment side, a battle does at least make this race more interesting, if that makes any sense. Just trying to take my time and give him a little nudge from the rear as we head through Dunlop. Just wanting to make sure I leave him the running room And this time, off the exit of Dagna, I've got a much better run this time compared to before. And I can head through here without braking. Get a little bit loose on the entry, but I do manage to clear the NSX. So for a brief time, another short-lived but entertaining battle. And now, as we head through Spoon for the third time, unless the NSX does manage to keep up with me for the rest of this race, I will pretty much be in a class of my own. And unless I make any more major mistakes, I don't see how I end up losing this race, to be honest. It's honestly quite hard to imagine a scenario where I do lose this race now, because I am out front with the lasting advantage now. That will seemingly grow. Did have a few scraps here and there, but I did manage to make up for it, and now I am already 3 seconds clear, so I think that definitely tells you that the battle we had is pretty much finished prematurely. So, yeah. But I probably knew it was going to happen eventually because, well, my tyres are now warmed up, and in a lot of ways, it does not look like they are going to be expiring anytime soon. As I head through Dagna 1 and Dagna 2 now for the 4th and last time, and under the straightaway, as I now head into the Dunlop hairpin. I now lead by 4.5 seconds over the second NSX. Would honestly make this more interesting if I were competing against 2 NSXs rather than 1. Oh well. One will do for now. Because at the very least I do get to show my superiority in more ways than one. And at this point in time, I have definitely shown that. Oh shit, okay. It's alright, it's fine. I saved it. Get out the gravel, you fucking idiots. Okay, apart from that last bit, where I went too fast on the exit to 130R, everything else was okay. Should also mention there have been some pretty big accidents at 130R over the years, which is partly why they had to modify it to make the corner safer. And no one else is going to finish. In spite of my best of efforts to lose that race, I somehow came out swinging and won it. I mean, I was trying to lose that race, to be honest, but I somehow managed to come out on top regardless. By less than 3 seconds. Or virtually 3 seconds. Anyway, time for race 4. Time now for Motorland, where we've got 10 laps around both this place and Tsukuba. And this time we're up against the 92 Type R. And aside from that, we've also got one Accord with 3 Civics. And because this is 10 laps, I think I would need to switch over to the Sport Hard tyres now, just in case. I know that's probably not going to be too much of an issue, but I figured because we're now into the longer races, I might as well come in prepared, just in case. I don't think tyre degradation is going to be an issue here, but I at least want to be prepared in terms of using the harder rubber when I need to use it. Plus, I wouldn't think this would be too much of a challenge, except for when I'm up against the NSX, as I hit the back of the EP Civic, or one of them. Kind of had to force my way through there, but it's fine. Sometimes you do have to get the elbows out around these short tracks, as the Accord tries to shut the door on me, but is not going to. And because I'm on a harder compound of tyre, it also means I'm on what's effectively a less grippy compound, which is probably why, as you'll notice, I am sliding around a lot at the moment. And I think that comes down to cold tyres, because normally the harder compounds do take longer to, warm up. Probably didn't need to downshift to first gear, but I did it anyway. Okay, that was definitely a mandatory downshift because of how I ran wide through there. I definitely made a mistake with that one. Anyway. 2 laps down and still 8 to go, and already one of the Civics is in the pits. So I think it's fair to say tyres, as I would have guessed, are going to be an issue, unless he was forced into the pit area. It is possible. Yeah, I didn't want that to be a pass there. I was trying to do it cleanly. And already my right side tyres are getting some wear. It's probably because I am putting more stress on the right side tyres. But my left side tyres seem to be okay, so hopefully they hold up long enough for me to get to the lead. Oh, shit. Yeah, there was no way I was going to get through there. My car was too deep to the left to steer to the right. I was not getting out of there even if I tried. Okay. Try again. And trying to see if I can take the lead for good. And a little downshift there to readjust my car. And just like that, I am now front of the pack. And it looks as though we may have a back marker before this is all said and done. Because I'm pretty sure that is the Civic that pitted. He must be getting horrendous tyre wear to be this far down behind everyone else. Although it does depend on knowing if there are going to be any more pit stops before this is all done. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so that's what happened to the Civic. He ran straight into the pit wall and then went... Oh, he's back in the pits again. Yeah, that definitely tells me he is getting horrendous tyre wear. I mean, he just went straight into the pit wall. That definitely tells me he must be shredding his tyres right now. I mean, quite literally shredding them. And it seems as though he's not the only one with issues, as someone just went off into the gravel. I suspect that comes down to tyre management, something that I suspect the AI is not doing a very good job of at the moment. But either way, I'm up by 4 seconds now, so I think at this point, because my sport hard tyres have got more to give, I think we should be able to pull this off with relative ease, like I have been doing up to this point. Just checking to make sure my PC is still doing what it's supposed to, and thankfully it is. Not going to slide into the pit wall like that Civic did. I should also mention that David Coulthard one time actually went straight into the pit wall. It does actually show how hard it is to get your car slowed down to pit lane limit speeds, and then to not be caught speeding. It is actually one of the hardest things you can do, to be fair, as a racing driver, which is basically slowing down for the pit entry. And you will see plenty of examples of drivers speeding in the pit lane when they're not able to get down to pit area limit speeds. Even though in this game, however, that doesn't really matter, or any other GT games, because, well, you'll either get slowed down to pit lane speeds almost immediately, or you'll basically just be sent straight over to the pit crew sequence, whether you're changing tyres or taking fuel or doing both at the same time. And it looks as though I am going to overlap the silver Civic again before this is all said and done. And that's exactly what I do. And I am getting bullied. Yep, he does not want to let me out of his sights. But he does eventually. As he is now 2 laps down because of his issues. Anyway, 4 out of 4 for me. And he comes into the pits again. And I also put the EK Civic 1 lap down. And the other Type R did manage to finish, however we're not going to get the other 2 finishing. So my smart decision of switching to the hard tyres pays off. And I managed to pull out a 7-second win over the 92 Type R. And actually surprised to say that I overlapped 2 cars in that race. Guess that's just the advantage you get of having more durable tyres. Although to be fair, Motorland is pretty hard on tyres, as I should know from my prior experience. Anyway, on now to our final race. Alright, 10 laps of Tsukuba. Can we achieve a clean sweep? We've done really well up to this point to get there, And I think there's a good shot that says we probably will. So, let's go and see if we can get the clean sweep. And once again, we've got no other NSXs, as we've only got 2 Integras, 2 Civics, and 1 Accord. I sense this is going to be domination. Even though it says 71 points, I am pretty sure I am no doubt going to dominate this event, from what I can see. I might also take a sip of water at some point during the race, if I feel like it. Or once I work my way up to the front. I know the point score is 71, but to be honest, I think with a field like this, that is just a little bit bloated. Huh, I almost pulled off a pass in the grass. Which is exactly what Dale Earnhardt did on Bill Elliott in the 87 All-Star race. If you're familiar with NASCAR, you probably do know about at least one moment that has Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s name on it. But anyway, yeah. I technically almost pulled off a pass in the grass. And the Accord is now out the way, so now we just go and do our business of dominating for these next 9 laps. Also, I've added nearly 50 miles onto my overall mileage for this car. Although I think it's probably going to be more like adding 60 miles by the time we're done here, maybe even close to 70. Yeah, 4 seconds already. I'm definitely not losing this race, I don't think. Just having a sip of water, because the straightaway is long enough for me to do so. And it looks as though the running order for this race is pretty well sorted, as someone is already running wide. Couldn't tell who that was. It might have been one of the Civics, if I were to take a guess. Although the pack for now at least is staying close to one another, so maybe there will be some battles that take place among them. Although those battles obviously won't be coming from me because, well, if you have been paying attention, I am pretty much gaining at least a second per sector split. And I really don't look like I am making enough mistakes to lose this race. I don't think. So if you want to know what true domination looks like, well, just look at me now. Because I am pretty sure that before too long, I will definitely be close to overlapping one of these. And now one of the Civics has actually got past the Accord. So I'm going to assume he must be having tyre trouble, potentially? Question mark? If he's already dropped a spot, as I almost hit the sand pit. Okay, 18 seconds, and once again someone runs wide off the final corner exit. I'd imagine that is something that probably happens a lot during the racing series that come here during the calendar year. But anyway, we are pretty much halfway there now, so I would say we're looking pretty good in terms of saying just how far we can really go with our domination. So hopefully we can do so effectively. As I now have a 25-second gap up at the front. I am pretty sure no one is catching me at this point, because my pace is just that monumental. Also trying to see if I can improve on my previous PB. And not really. Although I did come close to my personal best. And it looks as though the EP Civic has pretty much broken away from the rest of the pack. So that pretty much leaves the Integras and also wherever the Accord is. Okay. A little wide there on that corner exit, but still able to at least keep my ride in check from spinning. I think I am starting to experience a bit of tyre wear now. I would say my tyres at this point look to be pretty much past their best by this point. And as of which we are 7 laps in, and we've now just hit the 8-minute mark. And at this point in time, we are leading with pretty much no challenges. Except for ourselves. Because the only person who can really lose this race now is probably me. And because I now have a 36-second lead over the Civic, I can hardly see how that would really be possible. Although somehow I do manage to go 2/10 up on my previous PB. I don't think I'm going to overlap anyone, but I am going to be pretty close. I mean, no one is pitting, but at the very least, I do get to show the pace I really have. Probably take a sip of my water once we get through, as I am drifting my way through the final corner. And somehow I improve again, this time with a 1:03 flat 6.9. Nice. I set a lap with a nice interval. I wouldn't think I'm gonna be close enough to overlap anyone. But I am gonna be damn close to overlapping someone here. Not really upshifting for that hairpin because there's no reason to. I am gonna be damn close to overlapping someone, but I don't think I'm quite close enough. As much as I wouldn't mind trying it. Oh, it's the Civic that keeps running wide. Well, not quite an improvement on my previous PB, but I wind up dominating this race in style. And at the end of the previous lap, I pretty much got a new personal best by drifting through the final corner, which I thought was pretty cool. But anyway, took me nearly an hour to get through all 5 of those races, and now I'm just glad it's over. So, gonna check to see if I have a replay saved, because sometimes I do forget these things. Okay, yes I do. And now let's go and review our prize car, because we can. And so, the prize we get after nearly 1 hour of driving is the Honda HSC. And in speech marks, the 37th Tokyo Motor Show concept car. I'm pretty sure this is also the same car that I won from getting all gold in the GT4 Prologue bonus challenges, I believe, in the school mode. I'm pretty sure I did win this concept car from that, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Type R meeting is done, and I am pretty tired now, so I think I'm going to call it a day before we move on to our next one. Just saying. But either way, we have done it with our first event at Honda. And we're now 66.5% complete. So I think we gained another 0.8%, and we've now driven over 3,300 miles and got over 27,000 A-Spec points now. Even though most of those races were pretty easy. But anyway, this is what we win. The Honda Sports Concept. And once again, it's another concept car that sells for absolutely nothing. I should mention, when it comes to a lot of concept car models in this game, they do sell for nothing, by comparison to other cars. Just figured I would give you a heads up on that. Still, at least the car looks alright. I think its body and chassis design looks pretty stylized. Okay, I'm done now. I'm finished. I'm out. I'm done. So, next time on Gran Turismo 4, our second Honda event with the Civic race.